Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I'm going to talk about the teaser trailer that came out today for The Eternals. If you haven't seen it already, I'll include a link to it in the description down below. But obviously the teaser trailer still doesn't give us too much about the story while also giving us a little bit about the story. Obviously, it's kind of filling in what we've kind of heard so far, that this is like, you know, like a 7,000 year epic. And it's such an interesting thing seeing what we get to see, that basically it's them interacting with older civilizations, because that's got to be the craziest things. They've been around, they're these eternal beings that have been around for so long, and they've watched so much of humanity, so many kingdoms, so many empires rise and fall. And the whole I think it's so interesting, the whole voiceover talking about being there to help them and guide them, but never interfering until now. So I think that's such an interesting thing, and I think that's going to be a crux of this story. I mean, for one, it's like, you know, finding out, look, first and foremost, why they chose Earth. There are so many planets in the universe. Why specifically Earth? Like, why come up with this creed of wanting to help and guide them in the right direction, looking at what they're able to build, but never directly interfering? I think that's a byproduct of kind of that thing of, if we directly interfere, they're already going to treat us a little bit like gods with the way we're able to help them. Like, we're helping guide them, push them in the right direction, but we don't want to be in a position where they come to rely on us too much. We want them to rely on themselves, but also we don't want to be in a position where they look up to us so much that it goes from us guiding them to us straight up ruling over them. And I think that's what they're trying to prevent from happening. Like, we don't want to rule over you. We just want to help you and watch, you know, observe and see how you're able to, you know, what you're able to build, you know? And I think that's such a fascinating aspect and everything to it. But I think that point of not interfering, I think we see points in the trailers where they do interfere, and I think that's actually going to be a point of contention, because like the big question too is like hearing that the Eternals kind of went their separate ways, and then like maybe Thanos is the reason why they finally came back together. But I think that could be a point of contention for them. It's like, wait, we've watched so much death and destruction. We've seen wars, we've seen natural disasters, and we're meant not to help. And that might be the thing, that some of the Eternals are like, no, we got to help. And they're told by others, no, we can't. And that might lead to some division amongst them. And I think that's such an interesting conflict of like, right, like we've watched just so much death and destruction. How can we just sit on the sideline? And I think we see that in moments where like they're holding each other and crying, because it's like these are people they got attached to, and it's like they keep going on while everyone else they come to know like withers and dies. Like, whether it be war, whether it be a natural disaster, whether it just be old age, they are the only ones that keep going. Yes, they have each other, so that's something, but other connections they might have made along the way are kind of lost. Once again, watching, you know, so much death, like, you know, it's also that, you know, I think it ties into like, you know, the sad aspect of immortality, and that this might flow into the story too, of like, you live long enough, you will live long and don't live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I butchered the saying, but that could be an element where one of them like descends the ranks and becomes a bad guy for all we know. I don't know. It's just, it's such an interesting element. It seemed like at certain points you see like, it seemed like they were fighting like mystical beast or something like that at one point in time. I don't know. So what else they like cross paths with over the course of this epic adventure, I don't know. But I really like the stinger at the end of the trailer. It's like, okay, like they're gathered around and everything, probably for the first time in a long time maybe, and it's like, oh man, now that like Iron Man and Captain Rogers are going, like, who do you think is going to lead the Avengers? And then one of them's like, well, I can't, and they just laugh about it, you know? It's like, oh, you think you could lead the Avengers? But once again, showcasing like, you know, how much they've watched on the sidelines. And I think that's such an interesting perspective to bring to the MCU, because we as viewers, to find out that there's beings out there in this universe who are like, well, aside from just the Watchers, but there's these beings who are like, oh man, all this crazy stuff that's going down in the MCU, stuff that the people who've come to be a part of the MCU, all these heroes, there's probably been so much stuff that's going down that they're not aware of, that only the Eternals are, because the Eternals have a bigger picture of this world's history, whereas not everyone else. It's going to be so interesting, because they'll be like, oh my god, I observed this. They're going to see the birth of so many heroes. I'm like, oh my god, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk, oh my god, Thor came here, this is the craziest thing ever. Like, they get to see so much, and I think that'd be an interesting perspective to have, is like them kind of reuniting at one point. It's like, oh my god, did you hear about this hero? I saw, oh my god, it was the coolest thing. Like, they just playing the role of observers, you know? But like I said, the big question of why though? Where did they come from? Why did they choose Earth out of any planet to like habitat? You know, it also seems like God. I don't know Game of Thrones, but I know like his character. He's Robb Stark from Game of Thrones, but him and Gemma Chang's character, like it seems like they're a thing. It's kind of like I don't know if that's gonna be like a like. Could we see almost like their love story almost across like different eras? So it's like, is there a little bit of a love story? It just seems like if you didn't see the more superhero aspects of it, this wouldn't seem like a superhero movie. It feels like it's going to be so different from any other Marvel movie, any other movie of that nature. Of just like it seems like it's just like I said, like. This on its own, without it being a superhero property, it could just be a tale of like immortals living amongst humanity for thousands of years. That could just be a story on its own without it being tied to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's just so crazy. Like I said, you have the more spectacular stuff showing you like, right, this is a superhero property, while also at the same time being like, oh no, this is just. It could also just be like a ground level, just like, which is weird to say considering like, but it's just like. It's such an interesting thing. I think this is going to take period piece to the most extreme. It looks so fascinating. Obviously, this is just being a teaser. You know, just some of my thoughts about it. I can't wait for an official trailer. It's going to be a while before we get one. But I mean, like Eternals is like right around the corner, like right after Shang-Chi. So this year is going to be nuts when it comes to Marvel stuff. So. But obviously these are just some of my thoughts. I'd love to get to know yours in the comments down below. What did you think about the trailer? Do you agree with some of the stuff I said? What are some things you want to see from this movie? What are some things you expect to see in this movie? Let me know. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good